We are live, ladies and gentlemen. It is Love, Death, and Taxes, a conversation about things that you cannot escape in life. Uh, hmm, this, this lighting isn't the greatest, but it is what it is. And we're going to be talking about communication today. So hopefully everybody can see my face. I think that that's an important part of communication too. Like sometimes people are typing things or people are emailing things and you just see the words and you don't necessarily understand the intent. Like you can hear warmth in a person's voice or anger in a person's voice when they write, when they are talking directly to you as opposed to. But yeah, that's what we're going to talk about today, ladies and gents. We're going to be talking about communication. It's Love, Death, and Taxes. It's May 5, 2023, and we'll be right back after this. Hey, so I'm Ryan O'Neill Williams, and my lovely co-host is Agnes Amasano. Hi, Agnes. How are you doing? Agnes.
I'm well, thank you.
Good. I have been talking a lot to some people of the opposite sex, and we've been having some great communication right now. I think as you get older, you probably just get better at it, right?
Absolutely.
Agnes, as a wedding officiant and a marriage counselor, what are the problems do you think most people have? Well, let's talk about how important communication is, right? Communication is like probably the number one skill that you need to have in a relationship, yes?
It's the key. It's the key. It's absolutely the key to a successful relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Without communication, you live on assumptions, and that's a wrong idea to start a life with. So, what I'm experiencing with young people, they coming into relationships and into marriage with ideas based on either their cultural expectancies or their parents, or sometimes just movies. You know, that's what's supposed to be. Well, life is far. You and I know that life is far from movies. Well, we don't want to talk about the movies on Lifetime when people kill each other and
But,
just
but you're talking about romance. That's what you're talking about. You're talking
yes,
about a movie where it's almost it's a formula when you watch these romantic comedies, right?
yes.
It's like the guy meets girl, they hate one another, then they like one another, then something bad happens, like there's some revelation of what they did or who they are, like they might be on opposite sides of whatever it is, and then they break up, and then the guy, it's usually the guy, who does some sort of grand gesture, and then the woman is like won back over, and then they live happily ever after. Every single movie, I tell you, that's it. That's it. It's a formula, right? We love stories, and we love to see the
Yeah,
same story
yeah.
over and over again. I was actually told by someone during a breakup that you didn't do a grand gesture. I thought that that's what I was like. What? Do you have any idea how many gestures I've done over the years? But yeah,
I guess they
sometimes
want to
people
make it
think
out.
movies. Yeah,
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
the thing is, just like you're saying, when we watch movies, everything comes to the point. Okay, now they're gonna live happily ever after. Now the real life starts from that point.
yeah.
That's the happily ever after is the reality when everything hits. Okay, we are moving in. Or they get married, they walk away into the sunset, and then what? And then reality comes: the mortgage, the bills, the kids, responsibilities, the in-laws. You know, everything comes, and now how the Prince Charming and princess will deal with that life. So it's we wake up usually after the honeymoon it's over and it's like, crap, is that's what the life will be like? I'm like, you don't kiss me. You didn't brush your teeth. So that's when reality hits, and that's when communication. It's the key prior to getting married.
Yeah, and honestly, if you think about it, you probably worked hard at it or didn't even realize how good you were at it as far as communication is concerned. And communication doesn't necessarily have to be verbal either. Sometimes it can be a physical conversation. Sometimes it can be, holding somebody's hand. All that communicates whatever it is, whatever you're communicating. And so, a lot of the things that people stop doing after all the magic is squeezed out of the relationship um,
Yeah.
ends up being something that is a communication tool that for whatever reason they decided they weren't going to do anymore. So I was thinking what are the horrible things that can happen when the communication goes bad, right? And you're trying to resolve an issue, right? Often it's like, oh, I'm here and I'm trying to have the conversation with you, but the other person just isn't understanding. Do you get that a lot when people are talking to you about are getting counseling?
You'll be surprised how common that is.
Yeah,
That people actually talk about the same issue, but they're using different words.
yeah,
They're expressing themselves different way, and they're screaming and yelling at each other. You don't understand me, but they are talking about the same thing.
the exact same thing. Yeah,
You cannot expect the other person speak your language, so to speak,
yeah,
using your vocabulary, um, or express. Oh, you have to another way. No one have a crystal ball that doesn't exist,
or a
and
mind reader, right?
or a mind reader. So
Yeah,
we are this book, but we have to open that book and start reading it. Now
yeah,
we know that even if we'll come with the manual, no one will read each other's manuals. We'll just look at that, you know, at the cover. It's so pretty. Okay, it looks nice, and
beautiful book.
yes, beautiful book. So I want to have that book. Now, so that's when communication comes in. Let's talk about our books. So it's beside like, hi Ryan, I'm Agnes. Nice to meet you. And this is what I do. I'm a wedding officiant, I'm a permanent facilitator, I'm a relationship coach, and I do taxes.
Yes,
And I do paint. So like there's so many different things, but that's the picture of a person. You the person is not only the picture that you see, just like in the ages, the prince was looking for a wife, so they sent him a picture. Oh, she looks pretty, she's gonna be my wife. That's all what was expected of her, that she looked decent enough to not to scare people away when they come to kiss her hand. So we are many, many, many things, and by looking at the person you do not know anything about that person. So let's talk. Okay, so one of the biggest questions that is supposed to be asked: how do you deal with stress? What are the triggers? What is your, how important the family is for you? Maybe your career is more important. That's when a lot of people clashes, because
yeah,
one wants to stay home and have kids, another wants to climb up this corporate ladder, or any other ladder, or somebody else. Doesn't matter. So,
all kinds of climbing. Yeah,
all kind of climbing, yes, but not everyone is ready for marriage, and how important that is. But like, as we as we spoke in a prior episode about three different um, loves, everyone is at a different stage, and talking to each other is very important. Ask those difficult questions to find out, where are you in life actually? Are you ready for this? Are you ready for that?
right.
Or if, let's say, we're going to do this, how do you think that's going to look like? Okay, we're going to buy a car, yay, and then a husband wants to constantly drive that car, and maybe she wants to drive a car, just for example.
Yeah, right, right, right. If she's from Saudi Arabia, no, you don't get no car.
Well, they do now. They do now. Not
It's true,
everywhere,
it's
but
true.
a lot of
They
places.
now allow. Yeah. Can you imagine though that if you weren't allowed, and then all of a sudden, because now not means you got to have two cars. You have to have two cars, but you weren't allowed before. It's beside the point. I guess one of the things is, yes, you want to have as much information, but then I think part of the difficulty is people are afraid to say the things that because they feel like they're going to rock the boat. So a lot of times people withhold information for two reasons. One, because they know they may have done something that they should not have done, or we had already agreed that we weren't going to do. But then I think they withhold information because they don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to make any mistakes. But the mistake is not telling me so we can work through it together, as opposed to having that issue with telling me, and then we do what we need to do. And then there's this word has gotten really popular in the last like 5-10 years. Gaslighting. Like you're telling me something or acting as if one thing is happening when something completely different is happening. And and I know, and I can see it, but you're denying the reality of what's happening. Like, for example, every day your wife comes in and the place is a mess. And you're like, no, that's not the case. That doesn't happen. Every day I clean. I clean every day. Or meanwhile, it's she who comes in and cleans. What do you mean Saturday? Saturday was clean. But the idea is that you're doing a thing and you keep on doing it over and over and over again. And we refer to the actual act of it as gaslighting. But the truth is, it's a manipulation, especially if you're apologizing over and over again and saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I'm doing this." But then you keep doing the same thing over and over again. It's not a real apology, and they can't be forgiven for it because they keep doing it over and over. It's a manipulation. So it's like that's what gaslighting kind of is. And so I feel as though we need to pay attention sometimes to how we're communicating, that you're not denying what actually is happening, because that has to freak people out. You can't be saying one thing is happening when another thing is happening, and then people are wondering, one, am I crazy? But two, I can't trust and believe in this person anymore because this person is constantly denying the reality that we both know is actually true. So I feel like that is a major part of communication nowadays. There are so many people who act as if what happened isn't real, or paint a completely, and it's true. What you were saying before, like there are two people talking about the same situation, but they're using the same in different language, but it's the same situation and they don't realize.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's not the same, different language per se, but they're using the same, they speak the same language, they're using different words, and the expression, the way expressing each other is
exactly.
completely over their head.
They just
Um,
don't get it. Mhm.
the understanding, but see, that's coming back to the gaslighting. I saw that so many times before. Before even this word start being popular, like you said,
Right.
just for some time.
Mhm.
But I see that it's simply people are not being ready for the kind of relationship that they are in. They're doing whatever they can not to lose that person. So they're coming up with the excuses, or they're inventing situations. I met a person that whatever he was doing, there was constantly a problem. Oh my God, I was late because there's always somebody else's fault, or like literally someone pee on his shoes. Like, what? It's it's like stupid. Like he definitely would not be a good writer because the excuses he was coming up with, they were completely didn't make any sense. But you're laughing, but that's that's when you are the person, in my opinion, he was hiding things. He was not honest in the relationship, but
Yeah.
he wasn't ready to let go of the person that he was with.
Yeah.
He was like, okay, well, I see a lot of times it's like how see how the other relationship will work out.
Yeah.
But just in case, I'll hold you on hold here. So I'll do whatever I can just not to let you go. But you know, the double B, bigger and better. If I got you, so maybe I will get the BB, something bigger and better. But
Yeah.
just in case, hold on here for me.
Yeah.
And what kind of right that person has to keep somebody else on hold?
Well, it's not just about right. You're talking again, that's a huge manipulation. That's like,
Yes.
I don't really even care about you. I'm just holding on to you because you are a stepping stone to the next, like you were saying, climbing that
Yes.
ladder. Yeah, you might be climbing the ladder at work, but there are people who are social climbers as well. They're like, okay, when I, hmm, hmm, this is running on my channel as well as your two channels. Okay. So I'm going to say something, and I think some people might be like, Ryan, you're talking about.
Don't
But
say what you're going to
I'm
regret.
going to listen. This is important to be said. Sometimes two people get together when they're young and they have nothing, and they build that up and build it up. And they just decide, someone decides, you know what? I'm at a certain level now, even though I had nothing before, and now I'm going to. And men do this as well as women. It turns out that women are now doing it too, where you get to the point where you're just like, well, that person isn't as good as me anymore. I'm not going to stay with them. I'm just going to move on to the next person. And that's messed up. And I feel like that is a lack of communication as well. Like if you feel something like that, shouldn't you turn to that person and say, hey, we're growing and I feel like you're not keeping up with me. But if you plan to go into a relationship and eventually you're just like, I'm going to ditch that person and move on to somebody else, that means you didn't really care about that person in the beginning, that they were just a stepping stone to something else. Like your life was together is pretty much a lie, right?
There was
It's
marriage of convenience.
Yeah, it's a marriage of convenience, and again, that's not a problem if you communicate that. But I think most people, if they heard that in the beginning, would be like, no, 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 I'm not interested. We're not doing that. I don't think that that's something I'm interested in, right? So, wow, what do you do? What do you do when someone is withholding information like that from you and won't actually have a conversation? Because I've had that happen too, where the person just doesn't want to talk. Now they've decided they don't want to say anything because whatever they say will incriminate them, per se. How do you deal with a relationship where the person just won't talk to you?
Well, when two people decide to come for counseling
Mhm.
and you have two people willing, there's hope for the marriage, for the relationship. One person cannot fight for the whole marriage. If there is the other person is withholding from that, or they already made up their mind, I'm not in it. You cannot. Doesn't matter how much you're going to fight for this, they already make up their mind, so there's no turning back. So that will leave that person with broken heart and sometimes jaded for the future. But unfortunately, that's what happens. This old saying, takes two to tango.
Mhm.
So it's difficult. Yes, sometimes people are in the relationships for the wrong reasons. There's a lot of that. Um, Marriage of convenience, or being just simply, because I have nothing else to do. So okay, come along. You know, I'll get married. um, I have kids and I need someone to pick them up from school. So okay. I'm hungry when I'm coming from work, so you can cook for me. And sometimes, they are arranged marriages. Don't
Of
forget, they're
course,
arranged
of
marriages,
course.
and a lot of times they are very successful. I spoke to someone that his parents found him a potential wife.
Mhm. Mhm.
right? They didn't force him into the marriage, but they said, you know what? We think you should talk to this girl because,
Right.
you know, he told me, now they have grown children. He told me when he just he's lay his eyes on her, that was it. He was against all that idea. He saw her, she's gonna be my wife. Just imagine 3 decades later, he is showing me picture of his wife, and he's got that little twinkle in his eye
Yeah.
when he looks at his wife's picture of 3 decades. I'm thinking, oh, this is so beautiful. So
Right.
there is hope, but the communication. They knew how to sit down. Okay, our parents expect us to have this. Our culture is that. So how are we going to deal with that? And they made it work because
Yeah.
it takes two to tango.
Yeah. I saw a table the other day, and it was showing the percentage of people who get divorced in the different countries. And India, it must have been 3 or 4. The most it could have been, I think, was 5%. And 5% divorce rate for the entire country,
Yeah.
which to me
Which
is
is
just amazing.
populated. Yeah.
And then there were other countries, United States is around the middle, 45, 50%. Okay. Most of the developed countries are around that time, around that number. And then there
Mhm.
were a bunch of other countries that were, I was like, what? 75%, 60. And I was like, what are they doing? They're not even thinking we're going to stay together at all. But it's interesting that that even exists, that there are that people. And I'm sure that that's what it is. We were talking about the fact that um, people get together and they sometimes don't even think about the fact that what are they doing? Why are they getting married, right? Or what are they doing? But it seems to me that those people who are in arranged marriages have been told what is expected of them. And because that expectation is met by both people, like they both understand what's expected and they stick to it, that's how it actually happens, right? That completely makes sense to me.
Yes.
That would be why it would say. Yeah. And it's fascinating. Yeah. 30 years later, they've fallen in love because they chose to do the hard stuff. And look at me sticking fingers together. But you know what I mean? They chose to do the hard stuff and keep it going. Um,
Once I heard this saying, and I'm sure you have too. Um, the older generation says, "Why did your marriage, like, they celebrate 50 years of being married or 60 years, and why? How did you make it that your marriage survived?" And they say, "Because we are from generation when you don't throw away what something is broken, you fix it."
you fix it. Everything is disposable in the current culture. You get a phone. The people are like, "What? You have a phone for 3 years, 5 years?" I'm like, "Yes, there's nothing wrong with my phone. There's something wrong with my phone that's different. But if there's nothing wrong with it, why would I decide that I'm going to just go get a new one because there's a new one to be had?" No, you're supposed to try and fix it. And yeah, there are a lot of people who don't care about that. Who care only about their feelings, like in the moment, right now. And if I don't feel good right now, I can go and find someone else. And the truth is, with whatever app you can find on here, you can probably go and replace your husband or wife in a minute. Not for long. Guess what? Sometimes, they recognize you and them both recognize that you go find someone else. If they're in that disposable culture, it's the same thing that's going to happen over and over again. Oh my gosh.
The thing is, just like you were saying before, development. So you see people, they'll get married and they say their vows, okay, we married, we going to the sense that we're going to happily ever after, but then things happens. So especially with the young people, right? We're not talking our generation, but like our children generations.
Mhm.
So the understanding is, oh, and actually in my family there's one couple, they got married, and to him whatever happened today, that cannot change 20 years from now. No, because you said that's going to be like this, but we all grow, we all learn, we all develop. So like, don't stay in dark ages. Come to the light. Come to the light. Please join everybody in. So you cannot expect you. I know that person, his wife, did not sign up for literally stay in the same
Yeah.
place. Don't move. That would be such a waste of life. Because look how much knowledge we have in the world for the last 3 decades, or
I got to tell you, there is a. Sometimes I tug at this, like that is my thing that I struggle with. Yes, I want to keep a lot of the old, um, the old ideas, the old way of doing many things, like staying together or as a family or whatever. But I also want to modernize and learn new things and move forward. It's interesting, and people say, "Oh, there's nothing new under the sun." I don't think so. I think there are a lot of new things, and people want to try new things and do new things. Sometimes they just don't want to do them with you. So that's the part of it. I used to come up with all of these things. Let's go for a walk. Let's go. Let me teach you how to ride a bicycle. Let me do this. Let me do that. Not really interested. Not really interested. Guess what? As soon as the person got into the other relationship, they started doing it with the other person. Like, where do you get all these ideas from? I don't know. It's so funny. Yeah, I am torn with that sometimes, because I feel as though, yes, some things you want to stay traditional, but then there's some things you want to go. What about what about this communication? Sometimes, like sometimes resolving. How about this? This is important. Resolving conflict, right? Are you finding that people have the ability to resolve conflicts when they have them? Because it's one thing to communicate, how we want to handle this or how we not. But what happens when something is broken or something didn't go exactly the way, and the both of them realize it? How do you resolve a problem that you have?
you know what? It's sometimes a simple exercise as writing on a piece of paper, cons and pros.
Hmm.
It's like, you are in this relationship. Okay, it's easy just to walk away. It's easy. You pack
Yeah,
up, walk away. That's it. We done.
that's right.
But then, the years that you spent together, the
Hmm.
dreams that you had together, if
Hmm.
you if you really, if there's a true feeling and true bond between two people, then they will find their way to each other. But that might be the second love in their life that they didn't recognize. That's when they were in a relationship and they found things, what they like, what they don't like. It doesn't mean that you are a bad person and they left you. That
Right.
has nothing to do. They just weren't ready for certain things. They were still searching and getting to know each other,
Hmm.
themselves, getting to know themselves, what they are all about, what they want from life. And some people are clicking, sometimes not. Sometimes they bring the best out from their personality. The second person, your spouse becomes a better person because of you,
Yeah,
and you becoming a better person because of them.
I would hope so.
And like, I have to admit this, my husband brought such a stability and into my life, and security, and not with material possessions, with his personality. That being in somebody's presence, knowing that, you know what, I'm good. Now I know I'm good. But it took us time also to find and to understand each other, because there's a lot of people comes from, might be this very similar culturally, but they coming from different families, that they have different values. And then, why do you do this? Why do you do that? You shouldn't be doing this. Why are you talking? And so, as long you can have this conversation that, you know what, you have to understand one thing, I'm on your side.
Yeah.
So we talk about the same things using different words. This is how I express. How do you express? But
Mm.
to have this kind of conversation, you have to be mature enough to know that you made mistakes before. To be able to sit down with your partner and say, you know what, no matter what happens, no matter how you see me, as long you have the trust, I'm on your side,
Yeah.
then it's
It's,
good. And
yeah. Yeah. It's me and you together against the world, as opposed to
yes,
now you're bringing someone else to come and nitpick at me or manipulate me because you feel like I'm not doing what you wanted me to do or what you think I should be doing. No, you and I should be working this out, not a whole bunch of other. I'm fine. If you want to go to marriage counseling, that's different. You have a person and the person like referees you back and forth. It becomes a whole different thing if you're just manipulating me and you together against the world. So
yeah,
yeah, let's talk about the good stuff. Let's talk about the good stuff. You want to be honest, right? You want to be open when you're communicating. You want to, there's a certain amount of intimacy that I feel like, and not I'm not talking about sex now. I'm not talking about a physical. I'm talking about actually getting to know a person because you've told them everything or they've told you most of everything. Most everything. You don't want anything. There are things I do not want to know.
overrated.
Oh, look at her taking a drink. Some things I don't want to know, right? As a guy,
And not
sometimes
necessary.
you just don't want certain, not just not necessary. It'll be painful because I'll keep remembering it and have that conversation over and over again. But to some extent, I want to have a certain level of intimacy with you that I understand why you do certain things, and that makes it able me able to love you more because I know why. I know where you're coming from. I know why
Yes,
you're behaving like that, or you're saying that, or I know how to edit or treat you in a different way because I know you don't want to manage this or don't want to hear that word or or I I dated someone once who um, had a relationship that was abusive, physically abusive. So if I move too quickly, and I like to move, I like to have fun, I like to dance. If I move too quickly, sometimes in the beginning or in the early beginning, until she got to know me, um, she'd flinch because she thought maybe something weird was going to happen, and
wow.
it turned out later on, much later on, I started to calm down, much like your like you say, your husband is a calming influence. I I didn't do that around her anymore, like the quick movements or surprise. Oh my gosh, she would pee her pants. Surprised her because she thought surprise was not good. So you kind of get intimate with the person, find out who they are, and then I feel like that is important. And then I think women especially need to hear you share your emotions about things. Like they they want you to explain to them how you're feeling so that they know that the relationship is going well. I think guys want to hear it too, but we would never admit that. And the good thing is most women will just tell you anyway. Um,
True.
but it's true, right? I feel like communicating your emotions or how you feel in the moment or even over the last month to say, baby, this has been so good at time and we've been here at this vacation spot or we've been doing this and I really, really enjoyed it. Sometimes I just want to hear something like that because guys,
Let's evaluate this.
yeah, I think that people just want to hear that. So I feel like those are good. Those are three or four. Honest, be honest. Don't lie. Oh my gosh! One time I told this one tiny little lie that I bought some food from one place when I had actually bought it from another place. And she got me in that. And I've never, ever, ever throughout the entire relationship heard the end of it. Meanwhile, that was a little lie about a tiny little thing. Turns out that there was a big old lie that was being told in our relationship that I did not know about. Like later on, I've been told one thing, but I don't
Well,
know.
sometimes people need just to kind of grab you by something to start building
Yeah,
the situation.
yeah,
There was a reason to start building a situation and start building, like, oh no, that was a problem, and another thing, and
yeah.
from one little
Little
tiny
tiny kernel. Yes, now
mistake.
it is.
It's not really a large mistake. It then you have a whole war.
Right, right.
You have
They're
to have a
looking for the problem. You're saying they're looking for the problem. They're weaponizing something that is so small and so problem. It's like you play with a bat. You could be playing baseball with a bat, right? But if you
Mhm.
put nails into it, now it's a now it's a weapon. Now it's a completely different thing. You're right. You're right. Sometimes people take little things and they throw them at you all the time. Oh my gosh, you did this, you did this, and meanwhile, it's because they're projecting. They have a problem that they don't.
There was
So
a
yeah,
project they
yeah,
needed to build.
yeah, projects. You're
Yeah,
so funny with that.
yeah.
But yeah, I think that's it. What else? Do you have any closing thoughts? Let's get into some closing thoughts
Yes,
about
yes.
communication.
I wanted to touch on the honesty. It's good when you're getting together with someone. Um, it's good to discuss the feelings from prior relationships, but
Mhm.
not the sexual experiences,
Ooh, that's what
because
I was
that,
talking about.
yes, that's what you were talking about.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
that's a
don't.
big no-no.
Please don't tell me nothing.
It's hurtful and it's not necessary. So, like I said, that's why the honesty it's overrated. Um, you do not, you do not explain yourself. Number one, if I'm with someone, I have no right to their life to throw something in their face prior to a day when they committed to me. Not just get to know me, committed to me.
Yeah, yeah,
I think that should be a rule, because if they're not committed to me, they could see somebody else. And what they did in their prior life, it's none of my business. That's worth my partner's a learning experience.
yeah,
And that's why he is the way he is, because he went through what he went through. So, but it's good to discuss emotional distress. So this way, a new partner can understand you, what you went through, to have for them saying why you are the way you are. You are product of your past.
yes,
And also, if you want to say something to your partner, to your loving partner, when you are in a good relationship, with honesty, what you're saying, how are you going to express it? Now it's like, you know what? I just want to be honest and then be extremely straightforward. Because it's like, honesty is good. I mean, it's good. Don't get me wrong, but it's overrated when you are going like, boom.
I
Uh,
think I'm talking. I think what we're talking about. It's so funny. We're having the same conversation, but we're saying it in different words. I think.
yes, it's an
I think.
example.
I
Yes,
think when I say honesty, I mean don't lie to me. Don't lie to me. If I ask you something, and then you lie to me, that's a whole other deal. But you don't need to dig into someone's past and ask them a whole bunch of questions that may not be relevant for your relationship at all. And that's the other thing. Nobody knows really what is going on in between two people's relationship in behind closed doors. People are looking on and assume certain things are going on, but the truth is, because each person is so unique and different, when they come together, their relationships are unique and different, right? So you can't necessarily be just saying, oh, this is the way that is happening, whatever. So I feel like, that's really important, that you keep a lot of the stuff that happened in your relationship with that other person out of the relationship that you're having with this new person. Stay away from all that nonsense. But yeah, really, the intimacy. I want to tell you as much as I can, but not every single tiny detail, so that now you hate my guts.
I was like, am I doing this right? Maybe the other person was better. So
Yeah, that's the thing. There's so many. It's so funny you say doing this right, but guys' thing is usually uh, size or um, or wealth, like how much money do I have versus how much money that guy had, or how the size of their business versus their size of their the person. It's so interesting. We're always like measuring, and it's no good for you. You may as well just not know. You don't want to know. You don't want to know. Oh, you had 2 kids for that guy. You only had one for me. Oh my gosh, you don't want to know.
that's another topic.
All right. So, ladies and gents, if you want to tell us another topic, you can send that to mailbag@lovedeathandtaxes.com. I'm Ryan Williams. That is Agnes Amasano. Your tax pro, Agnes the tax pro. And I'm hoping that you guys reach out to us and say what you'd like to hear on the show. We have some really interesting times coming up in the next week. I can't even say anything here. I'm trying not to say anything here, but we have some really fun stuff coming up in the next week, and I want you guys to check out the channel and or reach out to us here in email. Agnes, you all right? You want to say goodbye to somebody in Polish, maybe? Just say hello.
Before I do that, I want to just read something. This is by anonymous
Okay.
poet.
Okay.
Will change a little bit, but it can apply to women or men
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to certain relationships or situations in life. He fell, he crushed, he broke, he cried, he crawled, he hurt, he surrendered, and then he rose again.
Hmm.
And with that, we're gonna sign off.
I don't know what you're doing.
I know you don't. So good things are coming, exciting things are coming. I can't wait to share with everybody.
Yes.
I can truly say in my life, I am on my third love in my life, the one that we both know what we want. Um, 13 years together, 10 years married. Couldn't be happier. And we went out. Thank you. We went through different stages of our relationships as well. And from the moment when we understood that we are on the same team, that we are the team,
Yes.
we are on each other's sides, no matter what, door open to beautiful, beautiful things in life.
Lovely. Absolutely lovely.
So,
So with that,
yes.
we're gonna go because you're about to say something you don't need to say. But yes,
Yes.
I've met you, dude, and he's a nice guy. There are a few people who I take to right away. I'm a Libra. It takes me a little while to trust people. And
He's the best.
yeah,
He's the best.
David's the man. All right.
Yeah.
So we'll talk soon, ladies and gents. Thank you so very much for spending time with us. I see a couple of your friends have clicked in and said they like the show and whatever. I can see them on the thing. No comments, but they definitely.
But they better like it.
Well, I don't know. Maybe they have to wait on the translation. So it is what it is.
Oh yeah, are we working on it?
Yes, we're working on a
Okay.
translation. Listen. Like I said, OpenAI helps a lot, but it's absolutely amazing how I think we're going to open this up to so many more people just because not only does things faster, but it can do it in different formats and different languages. So
Wonderful, because you're
yeah,
going to hear about it very soon.
yeah. All right, ladies and
All
gents,
right.
you have a good day, and it's good to see you, Agnes. All right, bye bye.
Bye.